This is Naoki Yoshida.
This is Fern Hall.
And you are listening to Aetheryte Radio.
Aetheryte Radio.
Here we go.
Hello and welcome to Aetheryte Radio, Gamerscape's Final Fantasy XIV podcast. I'm FusionX, and with me today we have Zenidra, Aldino, and Bryn.
What up?
Oh. Yo, what's going on? I was gonna
so
say something. I forgot.
some kind of words. So real quick, just to clear this up, we are a weekly podcast that didn't go last weekend. So just to clarify, yeah, we are still weekly. Last week it was a mix of some of us had some work and some IRL stuff, and there just really wasn't a lot of stuff to talk about, which is the issue. That's the problem you're going to run into with doing a weekly show. That having been said, we do have ideas for content to kind of fill those gaps. They're rough ideas right now; they're not fully developed, so it's something we're working on. So hopefully we won't have too many of those, but if we do, we do. So. We didn't
want to hop on and be like, sure is cool that arsenal that none of us have gotten to yet.
So how about Eureka that we talked about last week? That's still a thing.
I mean, the negative Nancy and be like,
yeah.
burn it to the ground.
It's gonna be really hard to do because this Eureka is water based.
Oh, you were here, Brian, when we had our.
That's right. We'll get into that. We do have a lot of Eureka stuff to talk about today, so we will very much get into that.
We're about to make a lot of noise. Please forgive me.
That's okay.
I got to put my microphone next to my face. All right, good.
Beautiful. Welcome to the musical themed.
Oh no!
I'm telling you, it's going to happen.
We said it was going to happen.
I mean, look, if me, Bren, and Aldino have to sing "Guy Love." It is what it is.
I'll do it. Okay.
All right.
Cheer Vince right now to make sure it doesn't.
No. All right. So topics. Little Ladies Day.
Yes, Little Ladies Day. The event.
Little Ladies Day is up. It just started. I haven't had a chance to check this out yet, but there's still time because it goes until March 13th. So if you haven't checked it out yet, make sure to do that. This year, you can get a flower crown, and then there's just more furnishing foods.
Yeah.
So if you want, there's some chirashi sushi, festive sushi balls, and then you get a magic prism, which is daisies.
Have you guys tried the magic? The festive sushi balls?
No.
I haven't eaten them yet. No.
Sorry.
It's so weird because like for Valentino's too, it's like we had like a great sword, a culinarian dagger, and then food.
Callan gets it. Are they salty? Are they? Derailed. Let's go.
Put them in your mouth. All right. Gosh, yeah, I'm all too familiar with that. If you've pre-ordered Shadowbringers, the pre-order items are now available, so you can get your Gremlin minion, Don't Feed It After Midnight, your Aetheryte earring. I was really happy with the mail for this, because the last few optional bonus codes, they've just been like, thanks for your patronage, here's the item. But at least this one had a little bit of flavor text. I appreciate that.
It was still harkens back to the red mage, so you might forget about blue, and now we have blue, and now like half the community split.
Yeah,
so.
There you go. So Aetheryte earrings, wear them, secretly rep Aetheryte Radio.
Yes.
As you do whatever it is you people do in game. It's cool because I've got my red mage at 61, and it's geared. It's it's not often that I play it, but every so often I'll jump on it and do something. So it's nice to have that earring now because my XP will just go through the roof. 30% bonus. It also scales with it'll add.
I know they're doing it just for this, and I'm just I'm wondering.
Yeah.
I'm I would love to see more of that, but that's
more
just
gear like that.
It's I gotta wonder what kind of background system is in place for this. So the actual item, it's got. It just says it has two almost, I forget what it says, but it's like a blank stat or something, or unverified or unspecified, something like that.
Yeah.
And then when you put it on, it'll be like, oh, okay, you're wearing this on this job. So it's I put it on my red mage, and it's like, okay, here's intelligence and I think it gave me like direct hit rate or something.
Yeah, makes sense, yeah.
And then because of my level, it like shot up the eye level on the item, so it's really cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll get that, anymore. That sounds like this is going to be it for that kind of an item, but it's a cool idea. So, I would almost like to see, for those listening that played 11, we had that kind of a thing with the COP rings, right? It would scale the stats depending on like what level you were and stuff, so you could get this reward, and it would continue to be relevant. I would love to see something like that. I think the problem that they would run into, though, is then every patch, they need to go back to whatever these items are and say, okay, now these are your new items, and that would be something that just progressively gets more and more involved.
I mean, sometimes like games like WoW have their item level algorithm, and the stats make the item level. I think it's how they do it. So the allotment of stats makes the item level, or the item level makes the stats. And if they got that into place, then when they just said, oh, now it's item level whatever, then it would allocate the stats in the correct way.
I think that's essentially where the work comes in, is it comes into the item level system itself. Because one of the things that I've always was confused about was, why doesn't materia, like when attached, actually impact your eye level? Because it is impacting your stats, right? So it's like, because like item level is like a 0 or a 5, like that's the increment. And I was like, man, attaching that, like now it's a 1, now it's a 2, like not, and that's where maybe that could fit in, but who knows? I would love to see that expansion, because to your point, one of the critiques that I would say like 11 players, like most of us have and want, is that, like, where's that gear to chase that pays off and continues to pay out, right? And they don't have like that kind of gear.
They don't. No,
it's glamored. It's like, okay, I got it, but I just make it look whatever. But finding something to chase could, I don't know. It's a hotbed topic. We'll move on.
and that brings up a thought too that I've had, and we'll get in. We got a lot of Eureka stuff to talk about later on, but a lot of this gear that they have for Eureka, it's especially if you finish like the elemental gear inside, it's like 390, which isn't 400, right? So it's not the best item level, but then it's got 5 meld slots on it. So it's like, where's that, like, is it better, is it not? It's a weird thing. So
I hear it's better, like if you put in, you can really do a lot with it,
because you can customize.
If you're already clearing the hardest content at 390 or 380 anyway, like,
well, if you've already cleared Arsenal, you don't need it anyway. It's just it's a weird, we'll get into it, I'm sure, later on.
There you go.
Speed run. Ozma speed runs. All right. They've announced dates for the NA and EU data center expansions. We've known this has been coming for a while. NA data center is going to happen on April 23rd, and then the EU data center is going to happen on April 2nd. We're going to get more details on the maintenances for this stuff later. So there you go. As a reminder, once this stuff happens, for about 2 weeks after this happens, anybody on the affected data centers can transfer worlds at no cost. So you can take max gil. If you have estate or an apartment, you'll get refunded everything, and then you'll get additional money to reimburse you for any potential lost items or whatever. So if you want to move,
and that's also my heartfelt pity. Holy crap, your house! No.
Oh yeah.
It's I mean, the other thought too is maybe move now. And then you'll get a house by the time all this stuff happens. I mean, because that's what I did when I moved to Gilgamesh. Because we knew this was coming, and I'm like, I'll just move now. I want to play with my friends now. And gosh, getting a house is a pain.
Yeah,
man, a house is such an obligation and such a hook into not unsubscribing.
It's really terrible. And I'd been thinking about moving for a long time, and what it came down to was like, I don't want to lose my house.
Is Gilgamesh staying on Aether?
Yeah.
Well, then we can play together. So welcome, awesome. So,
yeah. We'll be fine. It's the other two that are. We got to get my carries
until April 23rd.
We have until April 23rd to carry me through all my extremes that I need. Yeah.
We should do
that. But
yeah,
it's crazy because getting my house. It's like you have 7+ people on one post sign. Nobody knows when it's going to actually go up for sale. Yeah. So you're just sitting there on your numpad just spamming. 0040. It sucks. It's terrible. They need a better system for this.
Sure.
Granted, and it's going to get crazier with the server moves because you're going to have all these spaces opening up. You're going to have the people that relocate, right? So, like, anybody that... I mean, and that happens now. There's an empty plot, and someone in the Mist is like, I don't want to live in Mist anymore. So you have all these people camping out in lavender beds for this one spot, and then some guy just comes along, he's like, yeah, I already have a house, so this is mine. Thank you.
But then you get to go find his.
Yeah. Right, yeah.
Some people are nice enough that they're like, well, sorry, but my house just opened up. It's at this location. So
I've had that. I was at a place for like a few. I've probably spent at least 8 hours plus just trying to get a house. Yeah. Right. Yeah. It sucks. It's terrible. And I remember after one night I was just having my laptop on the couch, just watching TV, and all of a sudden, boop. It's just it's just there's a house there, and I go, crap. The guy goes, by the way, I just moved, so if you go to Mist Ward, I'm like, okay, might as well. Everybody goes over and of course that's on a timer now. God knows when that's gonna pop. It's a pain. You
just have to make friends with everyone else waiting for it, in hopes that they'll just tell you, where their house was. You just got to work them. You just have to be friendly.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's crazy.
You bring like 8 friends with you. Sorry, Charles. And you have them talk to all the people at the sign to distract them. Don't do that.
See, that's the thing. Everybody puts busy status on.
Yeah, so that you can.
Like there's a real...
Just in say. Just be like, hey, how are you guys?
Okay.
And then if they don't answer, they're mean.
Man, I don't know.
You don't want to say hi and risk losing the house for the 5th time? What do you mean?
Don't do any of that. Don't set people up like that.
You're so rude.
I accidentally offended somebody, and then it's like, you're done.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I totally makes a great point, and I've had this thought for a while. Make some housing instance. Absolutely.
Oh, God, yes, please.
With Stormblood, we've gone to the Far East, a place that has a bunch of island, like a huge island chain.
Oh, God.
Give us an island, give us an instance house, and then make the neighborhood housing stuff a premium housing.
Ishgard housing will be instance housing.
Please.
Maybe.
I want to live there.
That would be a great way to do it, because right now, the neighborhood thing, it's a nice thought. We've used it once. We've utilized it once for like the first Christmas event, and nobody cares about it after that. Yeah, there's no point to it.
I wonder if we'll see, the farming kind of address the one real big feature people can't participate in without a house, and that's gardening. The fact that we can't garden in your apartment, you can't.
Can we do chocobos yet? Did they ever implement?
Yeah, you can do chocobos in apartments.
Yeah, stable.
Yeah.
Oh, stable. That's right. That's right.
Outside, you can't do your free company airship, which is broken because really nobody does diadem. So it's like, okay, but
and you don't even need that for diadem.
Yeah.
What's up?
You don't even need the airship for diadem. You can just go to the airship landing in Ishgard for that.
But you can go solo.
My ultimate disappointment in the diadem was it wasn't used for leveling content, because it could have been really interesting as just another thing you could do to level.
Just imagine if Eureka is what came after Diadem, what comes after Eureka should be pretty not terrible.
Diadem 2.0.
They're getting there, right?
They already said it's coming in 5 years.
So. We're getting progressively better with raiding and alliance raids, and we're gonna get there. It's gonna get better, probably.
How many times did it take?
It's iterative,
10 years of time.
That would be that's such a great meme. You have like the Tootsie Roll owl, and it's like, how many licks does it take to get to the center of good group area content? And every lick he licks off Diadem, licks off Eureka. The third one, we got it.
We made it.
There we go. Dibs on that meme when that comes out. So also this week, this was something I hadn't heard of. They put up a small post regarding the fraudulent purchase of optional items.
This has been going on for a while.
This is apparently a thing. I had no idea.
Russia.
So here's the full post. It's not too long. We've recently found an increasing number of fraudulent purchases of optional item gift codes on the MOG station. Upon investigation, we found that illicitly obtained items are being sold on unauthorized marketplaces and reseller websites, and then ultimately being registered to multiple player accounts. We would like to remind players that both offering to trade gift codes, either for real-world currency or for in-game currency or in-game items, as well as the actual trading of gift codes, are strictly prohibited activities, and engaging in such actions could result in penalties against your account. Furthermore,
don't do it.
Don't do it. Furthermore, as recent investigation has discovered that the gift codes are being obtained through fraudulent means, a purchase of such illegally obtained gift codes from resellers will be regarded as participation in a fraudulent transaction. We'd like to take this opportunity to remind all players once again to avoid purchasing any optional items from sites other than the Mog Station.
Stop it.
So this is a Square Enix fault. Like,
Yeah.
why is this happening? Well, because like, why don't we have a guild time token thing, etc.? It's like, why don't we have that kind of in-game market that this essentially prohibits, right?
Right.
People find a way. Life finds a way. Like the reason why these markets, why this happens, why like people pay, like there's no one would sell Gil if somebody wasn't willing to buy Gil.
Yeah.
They can, Square Enix is going to fight this. They're going to keep fighting like these botters and spammers, but they're wasting so much time and resources doing that and doing these like silly investigations when why not just make it legal? Like, why can't you just like, hey, we have Krista. We've had Krista since day one. Like, I don't get it. Like,
before
they had so many things that they wanted to do.
I'm like, all right, like it's the way
they were gonna do so many things with Krista.
Right.
I remember they used to be like, yeah, with Play Online, like you can read manga on it and stuff. Like it's gonna be so great. A lot of false premises with some of the stuff. But
I hear you.
One solution. That's all they need to do. When you get a code to gift, you gift it to that person in the transaction. Done. Done.
These are technology. Like this is like technology problem. Like they can.
Like
do
if I redeem an item code, I have to say what character I want it on. Then why can't I do that if I'm gifting a code?
Yeah, it's like.
I mean, obviously.
What if we're doing an event and we want to be able to give 3 codes away?
Well, you just have to have the Mog Station open.
Although you actually can't buy a second code until you give that first one away and have it used, right?
I don't think so.
I don't know.
No, you're right. Never mind.
I've never bought multiple codes, so I don't.
Yeah, I've never tried. So
I don't know.
Based on what I've heard, I would be worried about buying multiple codes because I don't want my account locked.
Right, but like the reason why people are going about it is like this. They're doing this kind of system because they're trying to find a way to trade and do all of it is the RMT, and so life finds a way. Like, and I just look at it. You look at like EVE Online. Like it's like. Listen, like how do we just break it down and say, okay, what make people want to buy? Some people want to sell. Square Enix, why don't you just take the profit and stop spending money fighting a battle that you'll never win? You've been fighting this since what? Final Fantasy 11, 16 years old now. So like, I don't know. It's
at least
it frustrates me because Yoshi P even said that they were watching the WoW token system. It's like, okay, let's see how it goes. Do your own take on it. You probably could do it better.
Yeah. Well, then we have I love the people that are like trying to justify all this because it's like everything's overpriced anyway, and Square Enix should be allocating resources to make this stuff available in game because look how many cash shop mounts we've had and stuff. I'm like, the last patch just introduced 2 new mounts that you can get through content. Like, what are you guys talking about? If you don't, everybody is so like looking at the Reddit thread for this has been amazing because you have the people that are like, oh, this is so stupid. Why should I pay this much for a mount when it's comparative to other MMOs on the market? And then you have people that are like, well, if you don't want it, don't buy it. And they're like, that's not a valid. Like, yes, it is. Shut up.
It all comes down to the concept, though, of what people's currency and endgame is. So for my wife, she's a collector. She wants to collect everything. And so if you have that mindset of that collection, that digital collection, something that you have to pay money for breaks that down. And my thing that I've always kind of wished is like it could be 1 in 1 billionth of a chance to drop. Like okay, you're not going to see this for 100 years, and if you do, you're going to freak the heck out. Like, why not have that? Because then you also be like, that's a $24 mount that just dropped. Oh my gosh! You just like you get excited about it.
I can see
because there's a real world value. Oh, dude, I would melt the hell down if I got that fat cat. Am I going to spend $24? Hell no. I pay but it's that like I get that from a collector mindset. I'm not a collector, so it's like I'm with you guys. I'm like, well, you don't have to spend the money, but if they gave you the alternative, again, back to the Krista, like if you could trade that, if you could then use that to go buy cash shop items, like if you had, because people are sitting on Guild Cap, right?
Yeah,
like,
easily.
what do they do with it? You need to add in. They need to add in mounts that cost 100 million, 500 million gil, just as a way to suck that out of the economy. But then
there are people sitting at gil cap, but there's like 10 of them.
Right. Well, but why are they sitting at gil cap? It's like gil is pointless. Like they need
all they like to do is make money.
Yeah, well, I mean, but they should
give them something that they can gives them a sense of drama.
The point of it is, and like I'm not super rich in the game by any means. I have about 100 mil, but like for me, I like having the money.
Yeah.
If something pops up like a house that I want to buy, sure, maybe, but otherwise, like I just want to sit on the money. I want to be a dragon and hoard my money. So maybe
I always view it as a high score. I view it as like that's a way you have a score in the game, like because that's a cool thing to have. Like I had probably about 90 million, and I gave away like 85 of it. I was just like, it's like I don't need it. But
see, for me, I'm like, I could have used that for I don't know. I just want
like Benedict Cumberbatch over here. Like
if you have it,
what did you call me?
Benedict Cumberbatch.
I mean, for me, it's like if you have it and you don't use it, do you have it?
Well, and that's when I talk about like the gil like token or whatever, like for lack of a better term, I know a lot of people freak out because they're like, there are people with all this money. It's like, right, but why? Like, let's address why they're sitting on that money. Like, we can come up, they can do all kinds of cool things.
There's not much to put it into.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
like,
the game has spent more time coming up with ways to introduce more gil into the economy than take it out. I mean, look at Domain Enclave. I can sell 2 platinum Allegan things that go for 10k each, and I can get 40k back.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I also enjoy sitting on the money because if I have like even just the other night I had a friend who was like, oh, I want to buy this house and it's such and such and I need 20 mil and I have to make that money really fast. I'm like, well, I'll loan you.
I got you, fam. Yeah.
But that's using the money though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's got to be more reason to use it.
I mean, there are things that come up where I'm like, I don't want to do that content. I have 20 mil that I can do.
Or it's content maybe you can't, like, I've bought 2 Kieran's of Sods in the past couple weeks. Like, that money's just sitting there. I spent a bunch on logograms, and I ended up making a big chunk of it back because once I've gotten logograms, I get into that content, I get more logograms and stuff. Like, it's just, I usually hover around, like, 10 mil. And that allows me, if I need to buy some stuff, I can... And I could, like that's usually my.
It's gonna vary. I also vary server to server, right? And that's one of the cool things about the, the server transfers that we were just talking about is that's
gonna be really weird seeing how that works.
It's
I'm really curious.
Somebody was like, someone's gonna take advantage and make all this money. It's like they want you to. They want the economies to balance out. That's why they're not letting you sell. You gotta because they want that guild to transfer around and balance out before they turn it on. It's so.
That's gonna be really weird to see how that works out now.
Yeah, and anyone on like. Balmung is about to get a fun awakening because all of our stuff is kind of cheap because there's a lot of people. It's going to be very weird. Very weird very quickly.
Yeah.
Things are just going to change in price and the money you had is just going to be a different value and we're just going to have to deal with it.
Yeah.
But that's kind of
really cool. I'll be really curious to see how the economy works. And I mean, and again, like they just need to introduce more things to spend money on. Because
that's the other thing. I have 100 mil now. Yeah, I am probably not going to be able to make money in the same ways that I was previously.
Not at all.
It's we need different ways to give us instance housing, right?
Yeah,
have it cost more.
Yeah,
but have it not be a pain to get.
Well, because then it's attainable by everybody. You're not restricted and then it's a goal. Yeah. What I'm asking for is I just want a guild goal. Like, and having a number next to it isn't what it is. It's just like what I have nothing to save up for. And that's a good, I mean, that's also like the thing where I'm different from a lot of, like newer players that are coming in from BFA and other games like that is like, like I've achieved all that I've set out to achieve this expansion. I now have to reevaluate what it is that I want to achieve.
You know what they can do? Easy way to get money out of the game, right? Give us an instance housing, throw it on an island somewhere in Hingashi, throw it in Ishgard somewhere, but then bring back one of the, go over to the Ryzen Temple, grab like a raccoon, right? And for a certain amount of gil, he'll upgrade your house.
Yeah,
and then you can get your own mansion.
Right, you've heard it right here. Go to the forums. Let's implement his idea. that is genius because
What?
it's like Animal Crossing, Final Fantasy 14 crossover event confirmed.
Yeah,
But you know, get another one of the animals. He'll come in and like grade like the feng shui level of your house. Like it'll be great. It'll be fine.
Oh my god,
I'm all on board with that idea.
Tom Nook Extreme.
Exactly. I'm all on board for that. I'm all on board for anything that that drives that.
Yeah.
They put new mounts and stuff
Yeah.
in the in MGP. MGP I always feels like it's valuable to me.
Sure.
It always feels like I want to make sure I'm.
What if
stocking
what if they introduced a guild MGP conversion?
Oh god.
up. Man, I would love that, but I don't.
I mean,
Really
because realistically, like, yes, they want people doing Gold Saucer content, but
Sure.
who gives a crap about Lords of Verminion? You know what I mean? Like, there's like 5 people listening right now that are super outraged, and I
upset
apologize
right
to
now. Yeah.
you. But I mean, it's like, yeah, you want people doing that content, but at the same time, like, some of the stuff is such a pain. It's like, if this mount costs like 2 million MGP, 4 million will let you buy it or something. You know, like, that would be a way to get anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah. We were just.
we'll worry more about the economy after the server stuff happens.
Yeah,
What was
that's
the
going to be
Battle
interesting.
Royale? That's what I want to know.
Battle Royale. I think on that note, though, that they asked basically that question at FanFest and they interpreted it as open world PvP, and that broke my heart. Like Battle Royale and an MMO is like what Guild Wars does because it's not about that. Like it's about a week-long event that you're in, PvE, PvP, go nuts. And that's what that's the PvP mode that I've been missing in this game.
I don't even know why I said it. That's a whole show in itself. Like how it could happen.
Battle Royale, man, I love it. Like, and I hate MOBAs, and so that's where Rival Wings is like, oh. But then I'm like, I know people hate Battle Royale, but it's like, it's candy to me, man.
There you go. All right. Also, this week we haven't posted it up on the website. We will do this in the coming week here. But we've got some more details about the Final Fantasy 14 wedding plan. If that's a thing you guys are interested into, we got some pictures on the screen.
If you live in Japan.
Yeah, if you live in
Or plan on
Japan.
going to Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yoshi P get married.
Yeah, right.
So nice.
So SE, we talked a little bit about this when this was announced from one of the letters from the producer. SE's partnered with a company, I guess, called Bridal Hearts to offer a Final Fantasy 14 wedding service in Japan. Reservations for this will hopefully start within the next few weeks. So this plan will include a dress and a tuxedo, which are modeled after the ones in the game. In-game assets will be used.
Cake.
Yeah.
Right, you'll get like background images and video to decorate the proceedings. The bride and groom will be able to carry the job weapon of their choice during the proceedings. You'll see them in the pictures that we have here. They show Paladin and White Mage. I don't know. I would assume there's other ones.
Yeah.
FF14 music play throughout the procession. You get a cake, which is like the same cake you would get from doing the bonding ceremony. And then there's a menu with Final Fantasy 14 themed food and drink. A standard plan for this service, which includes 70 guests, is $31,500 US, which seems.
Yeah.
What's your take on
Weddings
that? High?
are that expensive,
They
though.
really are. Like.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't have one.
So.
Yeah.
Right? See, that's my thing. Like, I had it was a close family. That was it. You know. And so I see this
At my
number.
wedding?
Yeah.
It's like Mayor Jane hard enough. Why don't you start out with $40,000 in debt? It'll make it
There you
real
go.
good. It'll make it go.
If I pay $40,000, Soken has to be the wedding singer. Yoshi P has to be the officiator. Yeah, like yes. Like,
But it's not just the wedding singer. It has to be him reenacting the wedding singer, pretending he's Adam Sandler.
He's just screaming, F Titan at your wedding.
Yeah. Is there any like in-game kind of thing that I can get from doing this?
Yeah,
You
there
know,
should be.
My interest is immediately gone if I can't get an in-game. So yeah, I mean, because I didn't have a normal wedding, so my reaction to that price, I was like, whoa, that's actually about average in Japan. Is around $30,000 for a 70-ish person. So it's if you're gonna get married anyway and you're looking to have a normal wedding,
just do that.
I mean, why not?
Do you get to keep the weapon, or do you have to give the weapon back?
I think it says carry.
It sounds like you have to give the weapon
carry.
No.
If you got the weapon, I would consider doing one of these.
Exactly.
Mm.
You know,
I don't know, like a
I
down
could
payment,
make you one of those for $200.
down payment on a nice house, you know,
Really?
paying off like any kind of debt. Like
Yeah,
that just seems
that's
like a
a
better life.
solid payment on a
Yeah.
house.
Well,
Uh,
and you know, it's also interesting
Where you
too
guys are.
to make a note, right?
Sorry.
Um,
I'm trying to buy a house right now, so yeah, like
yeah, and you know, and for what it's worth, that's about average in North America as well. Granted, it varies greatly by region.
Sure.
I researched a little bit, so like New York could pay up to like 75 grand. New Mexico will pay like 70. Like there's a
Yeah.
huge, you know, but the average is about the same.
Go to Vegas.
But in Japan, right, it's more common too for weddings to give money than it is like a crock pot or something. And so on average, a guest will
They
give
don't need all that crap.
300.
They don't have all the space.
Right.
Yeah,
On average,
it's like-
a guest will give like $300. So if you take that into consideration too, you're paying maybe 10 grand for all of this. So that's not bad at the end of the day. So
yeah, we did about our wedding was about 8.
Yeah.
You know, we did at the Knights of Columbus Hall, like kegs of beer and tacos. We had 400 people.
I mean,
so
that's
it's
a solid-
How do we feed them cheaply? Taco Cabana, baby, let's go.
it's a lot of
Sounds like a good
tacos. At least with that much tacos, you wouldn't have to pay for any heating, right? You just
I think my wedding
just
cost,
check
just
too
light
hot.
just light some candles around. You're fine.
Michelle, go ahead. Sorry, yeah.
it's fine. My wedding was $100 to get the officiate out at like a pretty park that we did not pay to be at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's it for the wedding.
Yeah.
And then dinner for everybody afterwards. So I don't know, maybe like $300 more.
Yeah.
Small's the tough. There you go.
Chat asking if the marriage license transfers countries.
What?
No idea.
Um,
I looked into some stuff behind this. I didn't look into that. Yeah, that's a great. I don't know.
Sure,
I would assume.
I'm sure you just
would
drop. Like,
assume.
what is a marriage license anyway? What did it cost me? Like $40? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's not-
Yeah.
It's really
That
not
is a good.
You know,
That is
I've
an
never
interesting
thought
question.
I
about
got to hand the receipt. I handed the receipt to because I paid for it to Phil's
Yeah.
mom. Like, I own your son now.
it.
Some cultures, that is true.
Yeah. Well, you know, I've never thought about the legality of marriages in other countries. Like, that. Does anyone?
No.
care?
I do. Okay, you want to know? You want to know what my opinion is? It was invented by the French just because they wanted another tax. So it's all BS. Anyway,
I just-
a piece of
Wow.
paper doesn't mean you're married.
there's just some questions in this world that I just never thought about. Like, just wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's why you
See,
come.
I-
to Breakaway.
Like,
See,
a different
and
passage
things
of
to
my
ponder.
brain is open to
Yeah.
it.
Just wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I like to. I always every so often I'll make a joke about I'll do something and the wife is like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Yeah, remember when we signed that thing? It was the fine print, right? It says that. Yeah, no, we're good. You agreed to this already." She's like, "I don't remember the." It's like the Santa Claus like movies. You need like the 10x like microscope to like view
Yeah.
the stuff around the
Yeah.
edges.
This is what you agreed to. Like what?
Yeah. Well, marriage is happening for me in the future. I don't know how near. So maybe I'll do it. Maybe
For research.
we'll do it, and
For the show.
yeah, for the show, specifically for the show, it'll be a
Yeah.
special podcast.
It's because Denitra wants that wedding dress.
Yeah, probably.
So throw in your subs and bits right now.
Oh,
Yeah,
And
guys.
maybe
We gotta-
Let's
maybe-
get him
maybe
there.
we'll get
Let's
a
do
20th
this.
of the
Start
way
a
there.
Patreon.
Do this.
God.
We'll live stream it. We'll live stream it if
See,
you.
The problem with it is I don't want 70 people there. That's the problem.
I'm trying to think. I'm like, do I know 70 people that would actually come
Do
to?
you have to go to Japan?
I would have. Yeah, I want
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Fair.
not only do I need 70 people, I need 70 people that can afford to go to
come.
Japan.
Yeah, willing to go to Japan.
What if you just go
Destination
around on the
wedding.
street and say, "Hey, I'm gonna have a wedding. I've got
can
two
we-
people."
Can we create a GoFundMe for this man?
Invite Yoshi P and see if he shows up.
I
There you
mean,
go.
right? It would be in Tokyo, right? Maybe.
Hmm.
Yeah.
You know.
Presumably.
He has no excuse. I paid. We paid.
Yeah, come on.
I pay my sub. I tell him what to do. That's how this works,
How
right?
many people are gonna invite him? Maybe a handful would think to invite him. But If he
Yeah.
actually got an invite to one of these weddings for this game that he and his team have worked so hard on, he might consider it, I think.
Yeah, it's gonna be in Japan, right? Yeah.
As long as it's not around the release of the expansion, because that man's.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Well,
fans-
and on another note too, and I did put this in the outline. The schedule for PAX East is out now. There is no 14 panel because it's like days after the Tokyo Fan Fest. So they're not going to have really anything to talk about. So
Borderlands
yeah, right.
Sorry.
I think there's still going to be a 14 battle challenge. Probably, don't quote me on that. I would assume so, but there's not going to be anything extra for that. So, but if you want to see, if you're going to PAX East, check out the schedule, see what else is going on. So yeah, there you go. Next up, we got like a book of a forum post here.
Oh boy, yeah.
So earlier this week, they had a hot fix for Eureka and the Baldessian Arsenal, and so it's basically Yoshida and the battle director Nakagawa talking about how things work, why it works that way, intentions, all that kind of stuff. I don't think I probably snipped this a little bit because there's a lot in here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Something that really surprised me though was the amount of feedback they got on the storyline for this.
I think what's interesting about it is that it shows them wanting to kind of experiment, right? Because it's like you make a choice and that choice has an impact, but the problem, I think, where it comes down to that, where the feedback kind of where they're hearing it, is that you've already set up and established a game, minus some few things that they introduced with crafting. That means you can do everything on one character. And if I wanted for some reason to make a different choice and see that, you've got such a huge hurdle to be able to go through and see that alternate. If they establish that from the beginning, where you're playing multiple characters, and so then your choices kind of have a better impact, it makes sense. But it seems like, for me, a weird shift where they make something that, especially for people who really enjoy the story, which is a very story-driven MMO, not all of us to make a choice and not see something and having to go to YouTube feels like it feels like what they did with Bard and Heaven's Word. Like, they introduced a mechanic so late in its cycle that by the time you get there, you realize, I loved it all the way up until this point. As opposed to like, I don't like this at level 4. I have not invested in it in a long time, right? Anyway,
So I think I
the conversations back in the day with the bards that liked casting.
Well, it could have worked if it was introduced at level 4, and then maybe they put another job on Archer where you could go Bard for casting and Archer and Ranger for not. I don't know. Like,
anyway,
make it simple.
So tangent episode here.
Tangent over.
I'm actually just gonna read this part because there's actually a lot in here that he talks about. So for those of you who haven't done Eureka, super minor spoiler. Basically, you have a choice at the end between two routes. One definitely kind of ends things. The other one kind of ends it, leaves it maybe a little bit open-ended. And then if you beat the Baldessian Arsenal with that second choice, it will then conclude things. So that's what happens with this. Yoshida says, during development, the team deliberated this at great length. The scenes that follow the Baldessian Arsenal wouldn't be experienced by everyone, but by only by those that made a certain choice in regards to a character's question and then go on to complete the dungeon. So if you choose differently, you don't even see those scenes. However, no matter how you respond to the question that's presented, the Eureka story will end at that point. So regardless of what choice, they consider that the end. Those who have played through the story will know that you have to make a tough decision. In proceeding with the current spec, we believe that players would come to terms with their decision and the consequences, and no matter what players chose, they would experience a clear ending before moving on to the Baldessian Arsenal, and based on this, it was my belief that the Eureka story concludes here. Rather than being a true ending or an epilogue, we sought to depict the events following the Baldessian Arsenal as a happy accident. This is because it's impossible to predict such an outcome when you're faced with the above-mentioned tough decision. And if the choice that you made left an unpleasant aftertaste, that's what we intended.
Right.
Regardless of our intentions, the way that we implemented the content has been the subject of considerable criticism, and we're taking it all to heart. I would also endeavor to take greater care in how I explain things. Please accept my sincerest apologies. So the issue here is it's the fork, right?
Yeah. Because
it's the fork, and then the fact that you get an extra scene after Arsenal if you choose one fork. And I think that's not even the issue, is like that, it's like, we threw it in here, like, what the hell? The biggest issue is that this completely screws canon. That's the issue I have.
Yeah.
And we talked about this last time with when Moose was on. They already have lore issues with Ameriloth in here.
Sure, yeah.
and then on top of that, we're like, well, what actually happened?
Yeah. What's the actual
right?
Like, I don't know.
That's the part that bugs me. It's not that there's like a little bit after Arsenal. Yeah. That's fine. But to call it like, oh, it's just like a happy accident.
Which is the right timeline now.
Like, is Yoshida Bob Ross? He's like, we're just gonna have a little happy accident after you complete the Arsenal here if you chose this path. Like, no, that's not how you do storytelling.
It reminds me of something that they're experimenting with in WoW because of community feedback. Of there's a choice on one side, not even on the Alliance side, only on the Horde side, of who to follow, but that choice is a personal choice. It doesn't change the world completely. It like, let's not talk about WoW canon. Let's not even go into that. But like the forks are fine. They don't do anything that then, well, which one's the real one? Well, it doesn't matter. That was your choice. That other player's choice was their choice, you know? That's good. I love that sort of thing. I want more of that sort of thing, but like, two choices and it's like two different worlds. Like, no, let's not do that.
It's weird because I mean, it's without saying much, there's a character that's there, and if you make a decision, he's not there anymore. Like, that's a pretty big thing, right? And so to have these options, like, I appreciate that they are giving us that choice. I mean, that was something they talked about when right before Stormblood came out. Is we're gonna let you make more of these kind of little decisions, which is funny because I was doing a quest. I forget which quest, but it was, you know, you go around and you basically talk to all these different the newest delivery quest with the pig guy. I can't remember his name, right? And so you go around and you do this quest and you have like options to like different options for what you can pick. And so I was sitting on the couch with my laptop. My wife is doing the same quest, right? We just happened to be on it at the same time. Regardless of what action we picked, it was the exact same response.
Right.
What's the point?
Yeah.
But then you introduce something like this, and before, if you do it, like, they'll give you like a one-off line, right? It's like they'll react to the line, move on, everything is still the same. But with this, like, it changes something fairly significant. Now, again, I think it's in the whole of everything, the Eureka story is contained to Eureka. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to have a huge effect, but character development wise, it could for some of the characters involved. So sure. I don't not having that question of what's canon. That shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
And I think that's the big issue.
I still like the whole. Even if it does give you the same response afterwards, having the two different options, because so many times in the first two expansions, I felt like I would never ever say this. I would never ever agree to this. So having the option to be like, screw off, and then being like, no, come on.
Yeah.
It's kind of
fun. I get that, yeah. And like I said, that the thing that happens in WoW wasn't a thing that was even going to happen until they heard people say, well, my character would never do that. And they went, well, this is a unique opportunity to then give you the choice and then give you just a little bit of player agency. And that's great. I mean, as Warriors of Light, we have done so many things that we don't want to do.
You guys liked your lunch?
Yeah, exactly. It'd be nice if we could be like, no, this is just
that was actually, you say that, one of my favorite things about if you finish Orbone Monastery, up in the airship, there's a couple like fetch quests.
Yeah.
They want like HQ food and stuff. If you finish all that, you can get a Lord of the Fetch title. Love that. But yeah, I think, even if they wanted to have a route, if they had one route and still had that little snip after Arsenal, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Could kind of conclude it-ish, and then you get the little bit if you do the hard content, and that's fine because you still have one scenario that's canon, and that's fine. You don't have any weird questions about who's around and who isn't anymore, and great. But that's what we have. So
I mean, let's be honest though. If you can't already find it already, you'll be able to find that shortly on YouTube.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, that's the thing. It doesn't
It
matter.
does suck you can't see it in the game, but there will be a way for you to see it.
Right. I mean, it's back, back when 2.0 was out, and they introduced what was it, Turn 12 with the cutscene.
Oh yes, yeah.
That was. I mean, that was on YouTube the day the patch hit.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
it was taken down shortly after, but it's you can still experience the story aspect of the game outside the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
So even if it is behind something that you're never gonna beat, it's still there. It's one path. It's canon. I'm fine with that.
I still don't like. I'm not angry that they made a baby mode of the storyline. I think that's nice for the people that don't have the time or inclination to do the more difficult raid tier.
Yeah.
But like, I don't see why they needed to. I wouldn't have been mad if they continued the way they were.
Yeah, it's
that is granted because I do the raid tiers, but like there have been there's at least 1 or 2 cycles where my group never finished the last one, and I'm not mad.
Yeah,
just watched it on YouTube.
Right.
Yeah.
Or went back later when they added the thing where they undid your level. We were like, well, we don't have anything to do tonight. We finished this raid tier. We're done getting dogs or birds or ponies or whatever.
Yeah.
Let's go kill that tier we didn't kill before.
Yeah.
And that's actually been fun too.
One of the other things they did was ease the requirements for the Aetheryte Stabilizer, which is the item that you can get that'll let you go into the portals in the Baldessian Arsenal right away instead of waiting for them to turn into stable portals to go through.
Yeah.
This is the one thing out of all of this that bugs me the most. So they say that the Aetheryte Stabilizer was devised as a priority ticket for gaining entry into the Baldessian Arsenal, but it doesn't seem much use due to the difficulty in obtaining it. To obtain it, you either need to spend, like 400 or 500 of each Eureka's crystals to get one, or you need to get like stuff from Bunny Chest. Like, it's stupid. It really is. And so... but yeah, so it's not seeing use because it's hard to obtain. If it were too easy to obtain, it wouldn't serve its intended function. But there's undeniably a problem, I love it, with the current spec. In response, we've decided to ease the requirements for obtaining the item while preserving its purpose. This adjustment will be implemented in today's hotfix, and players will find the item considerably easier to obtain. This adjustment, this is the part I love, is intended to make it possible for players to enter the dungeon with a reasonable time investment while alleviating the competition for the entry amidst random conditions. We'll keep an eye on things and make further changes if necessary. This isn't alleviating jack. Like, what?
I mean, there have been a lot of I haven't done the Arsenal yet, but I have heard from my friends there has been a fair amount of sniping.
Yeah. And this is something that we've talked. I mean, as
soon as
we knew this was going to happen. We knew this was going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard, and we talked a little bit about this before the show as well. There are like Discords out there. I know Aether has a Discord where you can essentially LFG, get paired up with people, but then you have to like wait for your turn. Or whatever, you need to get everybody in the same instance, and after all that waiting, people will just take the portal.
Yeah, they're just gonna do it.
which, and the point that I had made
4 hours of waiting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, there was I saw I forget who it was on Twitter. I think it was Tate said, they were he waited for like 3 hours and then they didn't even go in.
Right.
And the point I'd made when me and Aldino were talking earlier was, if you have players using a system outside of the game in order to group up and tackle content, your game is broken.
Right.
Thank you.
You shouldn't have to leave the game. That's my I don't want to turn this into like Destiny bashing. That's been my biggest problem with Destiny. I've never done raids in Destiny because there's not an easy grouping feature in the damn game. I got to go to Reddit or something.
Let's
do this.
We could really dedicate a whole episode to bashing Destiny.
I mean,
I'm always rooting.
You're all for this, I could tell. Yeah, but
I'm
it's I mean,
but it's like, all right.
Like it's great, that these things exist, but at the end of the day, like, I shouldn't have to use outside resources to do things in the game.
Yeah,
right.
And the game shouldn't be in a state where I need to do that. And it's terrible,
I think that
the way that they have this queue up.
They initially told us it was going to be so difficult because they figured that part of the difficulty would be getting that group together without an outside
and here's, I think, that's the biggest issue. When you're looking at, like, because I've talked to Haps a lot about after he did it, and he says the content itself isn't necessarily hard. It's stressful, you can't mess up, but it's not hard necessarily, right?
Sure.
Difficulty shouldn't be measured like, they're like, oh yeah, it's hard to get a group, that means it's hard. No, getting a group should be super freaking easy in anything you're designing. What are you thinking? Like, you're already having to get a max of 56 people, right? But you already have to, that's limited to an instance with a cap of 144. So you have to somehow get all these people, if they want to coordinate, into the same it's terrible. That's like, whoever
that's been the problem that I've had with Eureka from day one. And I've said it's not the actual content, it's the technology behind it. It felt that, I think that one of the reasons why Eureka ended up getting delayed the way it did is that they were trying to do these things and then it just isn't ready, right? You know, when you look at, man, Party Finder would be amazing to use in it.
Sure.
Like all of this stuff would be amazing to use. All of a sudden you're saying, why is it in an instance? And the answer is because they want to pull from the data center. If it was, if they kind of broke the traditional instance rules itself, then all of a sudden this becomes this
and you know, I think an issue with that too is the amount of people that they would have in the zone, because we already have issues where you get 56 people in Baldessian Arsenal and then you can't see AoEs to dodge them because you have so many other things happening on the screen. Like, why is this still? We had issues with hunt mobs not showing up years ago, and now we still have this kind of stuff. Like,
hopefully the move and dropping a 32-bit support allows, you know, the engine to to work on, you know, some of these things. Hopefully they've already talked about the technology that they're working on in 5.0 for the next Eureka or Diet, like, you know, in that kind of way. That, so I'm hopeful. I think that, you know, they hear it. I you know, they can definitely see the issues, and so hopefully we're going to see, you know, what, like we talked about with the Center of the Tootsie Pop, like, okay, now that these things, the other thing that, like, that y'all are bringing up, especially with using outside tools, like, you know, the question, like we talk about, like, man, it'd be great if 14 taught players how to play the game, and you know, is there a demotivation to do that because those tools somewhat exist, and they just say, well, just, you know what, PC, just use but don't use the DPS meter, use but don't use, you know, like a scheduler.
Party sites.
I'm hopeful. Yeah. I'm really hopeful that we get to see, you know, more quality of life, more features brought in to the game itself. You know, like some of the stuff that the community is building is amazing, and but the thing is, they're building it because it's a necessity and it's not being fed, and hopefully that doesn't de-incentivize Square to make that investment.
I mean, having to make your own group makes it feel better when you win, but it doesn't make it feel better to do. You know, like, hey, you know, I got through all the herding of the cats, of doing all that stuff. It's 40-man raiding in WoW back in the day, or WildStar, which lasted a while, because they realized that that's just too much to do. It's too much annoyance to even do the content, so people stop doing the content, and that's a problem. That's a really big problem.
And you know, another one of the issues too.
Sorry, go ahead.
Another one of the issues too. I've been into the Arsenal a couple times now. There's a whole thing with, like, gear progression. I think that's maybe not great, right? Where you have to upgrade the gear you get in Pagos to a +1, and then you upgrade to a +2 using items you get in the Arsenal to just be better at the Arsenal. And I guess also then if you go back to other Eurekas, right? Because you get that elemental bonus and stuff. But that seems like they're throwing all this in a little bit too late. But it's also the reward. So, like, you go into Arsenal and you have like a super mini easy boss. You fight a demon wall, you go through some trash mobs, you do a boss. You don't even get a chest from that boss. You need to get in before you even get chests for stuff.
Right.
And even then, the amount of fragments that you get, I don't know if there's a random element to it, but, like, you don't get that many. And you need, like, for reference, like, I think it's like 21 to upgrade, like, hands and feet and helmet. More for body and legs. You need 100 to upgrade your weapon.
Yeah.
Like, you need a lot, and it's the rewards aren't there, I don't think, for the amount of effort that you need to do this content. It's just trying to drag it and extend it further than it should be.
The solution that I have that I've really, and I hope we'll see some at some point in 14, it doesn't have to be throughout all of it, but when we talk about especially larger scaled content, like, you know, the Arsenal with 56, the solution in my mind is always that why set it to, why not scale it so that if you can get 20 people together, then it's scaled and set for 20 people. If you can get, and then you're playing it and you're like, oh, more people are here. They were an hour later getting off work for whatever reason. They can go ahead and join us in progress. And then the content itself scales for the amount of people needed. It's an algorithmic based function when we talk about it, where then if they develop that kind of technology for 14, they could apply it to anything, meaning that you could, well, let's go ahead and four-man this, or like, let's go ahead and see how many people we can throw. And the risk in it, because I know anytime I talk about difficulty scaling, is that at some point people will figure out that you don't want 56.
Yeah.
The perfect number is 44, and that means, and that is the fastest way to clear it is with this number. So we're going to look for that. They have to, you'd have to figure a way algorithmically to say like, okay, like this is what it is, and
that's a big issue I've seen too. I mean, I remember going through Pyros, and it's like, you want a light farm? Okay, great, D level. Why? You get more light. You have a better chance for light if you're 49 instead of 50. That is so stupid.
Yeah.
Like, why is that a thing?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't understand. But one of the other things that I've been seeing a lot of people talking about, with the portal sniping and not being able to get all the pre-made groups in, which is already like, we knew this was going to be an issue. But people are like, oh, well, people kept asking for more 11, and now they got it, and they're complaining. You could get guaranteed full parties into content in 11. This isn't an 11 thing. This is a shitty design thing. Like, that's what this is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they're talking about sniping Dynamis, and I'm like, how many times did we really see that happen?
I've never heard of that happening in all the time I played 11. I never had a Dynamis run.
You're going to do Dynamis and they just jump in front of you, that sort of thing.
I've never seen that in all my time in 11. Never saw that.
I didn't do Dynamis all that much, but had to be.
I used to do like weekly Dynamis runs. Yeah. Never saw it. Yeah. So I don't know what they're talking about.
Back in my day. Yeah. Did we ever get sniped? I don't.
Yes.
We did once. Yeah. Okay. Once. I do. Yeah. Okay. It's like.
And okay. I think we almost got sniped once, one other time additionally, and we were like, "Hey, did you check out the schedule?" And they were like, "Oh shit, I'm sorry."
Yeah,
and
exactly.
We got in.
Yeah. Well, see, that was the other thing too. People had to schedule Dynamis runs on a site outside of the game.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't. And one of the things
once you had your day and your time.
Yeah.
You had that forever, and as long as you've been doing it for a while, people knew they had to pick a different time. People never screwed with each other.
And it just goes back to one of the things that we've seen with 11 and with 14 a little bit. It's as the game goes on, you see people come up with tools or mods for various things. A smart developer, and it took Square a while on 11 to do this, but they take that stuff and they implement it into the game itself.
Right.
So then you don't need all this third-party stuff. Yeah. And so, for something like Arsenal, there's no fixing it at this point. The system is what it is. There's no magic fix for this. Done. It's going to be a pain. You're going to have people sniping portals, and you're going to just be, grinding, 15 Eureka fragments at a time in a frag run. Like, that's just the way it is. But it's... hopefully that they can, whatever 5.0 is, they say, okay, look, people have friends. They want to enter with their friends. They want an easy access thing. You can still make the content challenging. You can still have other groups go in, but let people easily queue and get into the content. That's what I've been saying, for forever. It's make hard content. That's awesome. Great. But make it accessible. Let me actually get in to do the content. If I'm going to die, fine. But let me get in to die. And that's something that they completely messed up with Arsenal, with how these portals work.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, if it's easy to get into, you can make it more difficult because you have the people there, the people that you want.
You can if it's not match made. Matchmaking is essentially I think the thing that when you really break it down, where people really we like the convenience, but then we really don't like the effect. And so when you look at that, when you look at the respect that people had for like a calendar, there was no matchmaking in it. People say, oh, Blue Mage can't matchmake. It's like, oh, Blue Mage worked in 11. 11 didn't have matchmaking. It forced us to communicate beforehand. Now, I'm not advocating that they take out matchmaking because there is a convenience. There is a positive benefit, but we do have to recognize that there is essentially a cost to that. And when you have content that you have to that has to allow for matchmaking, it has to take into affect a couple of things. When you preform, when we're all like everybody's on the same page before we go into this, it can set they can do something completely different. They can make it easily harder. Like at some point where you can make look at Ultimate. Like I don't think anybody's matchmaking. I don't think you can. But they can go and just torture you, but everybody's on the same page, so you don't end up having these situations where all of a sudden everybody's pointing fingers like, what's that random guy that came in? You know, we're all on the same page. You're not. You suck. Get out. You know, they want to try to avoid that. You know, and that also plays into, you know, obviously the various policy changes they've made. So I look at it from a matchbank, like, and it's a weird cost when you break it down. It's a great convenience. I think it's that I'm hopeful. I'm wondering if there's going to be a way that we can have a culture shift, because if you look at how like Japanese culture runs it, when you look at China, like they found a bug in the party finder because people don't use the random matchmaking. They preform and then, you know, et cetera. And that's fascinating. And NA is kind of the opposite. Like I expect you to know your stuff. Yeah. You know, as opposed to I'm randomly rolled into this person who's, you know, who doesn't have the same expectation that I do.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, again, if you want to have hard content, make hard content. Let me get into the content. That's my only ask. So hopefully, we know they're making something for 5.0. We don't know what. Hopefully, we'll be able to queue in somehow.
Well, we find it out soon enough.
Have to deal
5.0
with all of this.
Not long away.
Yeah. They did tweak a bunch of other stuff with like portals and stuff. The support fate now for Baldestine Arsenal will give you 30 crystals, which is awesome. I love that. Gives you more of a reason. I wish they would give fragments too, but maybe that's a little bit much.
I had kind of a fun experience with that particular fate. One of my friends can't see the AoEs from the squid guy, not the squid, but the like sky squid.
Avni.
Yes. Yeah.
So those are called UFOs.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
What?
And then the support fate, those are sharks. Even though they look like rays, we call them sharks for some reason.
What?
Anyway,
that was the terminology we used.
You can't see the AoEs,
yeah.
So I'll stand with him, like directly on him, in voice chat. And when they pop up and we need to move, I'm like left, right, left.
Well, and you know, the other issues with both of those fates actually is depending on where the NM is when you're fighting it. There's like a bit of like a slope with like the waterfall, and so if you have it on the lower level, and if you're on that upper level, you don't see that AoE, but it'll still kill you. Yeah, and so that's a huge issue. Like I'm surprised that wasn't brought up,
because in a lot of places, if the AoE, depending on what type of AoE it is, if the AoE doesn't show up on the ground, even though you're technically in it, it won't get you.
Yes.
That does happen with certain AoEs. Not with that one.
Nope.
Yeah, there's some weird stuff that they need to move the fate a little bit so that it doesn't clip. You know, like it's a common thing, right? It's not just like, well, if you just happen to pull it. I've seen it almost every other time. Like it's a common thing. But all of this is up. We did put it up on the website, so make sure to check that out. I mean, all these adjustments are in the game already. So there are some things that they are talking about adding or looking into before they tweak. So make sure to check that out. I don't think we need to spend any more time on that.
Eureka is Eureka. Enjoy.
Eureka is indeed Eureka. Last bit of news that we have here. They have given us a little bit of information for the Letter from the Producer Live 50. This is the one that's going to be Saturday, March 23rd at 6 p.m. Pacific. This will be during the Tokyo Fan Fest. So there will be an English stream for this, but it is not live translations. The English stream is going to be basically covering the same points and be covering the same content alongside the live letter. Yeah. So
if they kind of go off topic, then we don't get it, is what I'm assuming there.
Probably
not a live translation. So if
this is what they're going to talk about.
It's going to be weird how that. I'll be curious to see how that works. I'm almost I'm almost envisioning like two streams run independently, and maybe even the English one gets ahead of the other one if they're just going through.
Yeah,
who knows?
Don't cross the streams. Don't cross.
Yeah,
because Yoshi P likes to sometimes explain extra stuff or say why he thought about this, and the English stream is just going to be like, and he's talking.
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, regardless, I'm sure even the JP stream will have the English on the slides like they normally do for a live letter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how they'll handle the Q&A. That might be, I don't know. We haven't seen this before. So there is a thread up on the forums if you want to submit a question, maybe asking why Emerloth was alive after he was killed in Eureka. That would be a good place to put that.
Yeah.
And so there you go. Next week, we don't know what we're talking about next week. Hopefully some things happen to discuss.
We should be getting close to a date when we're going to see part 2. Because Oila is saying that
it's after FanFest.
It's after the 23rd?
It's after FanFest. Yeah.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah. So
watch out for
we have a few weeks to kill. I don't know what
they have a date on it, because they always said the part 2 is in March, and so I always kind of figured that it was going to.
It'll be after. It's after FanFest.
Yeah,
a few days after FanFest, probably. So if their patches are usually Tuesdays, yeah. So we're going to be looking at the 26th, or if they move it to the next month, it'll be on the 2nd.
That's kind of, man. I think that's kind of close, because the 2nd is the server move for EU.
Yes.
And I thought that they would at least let people.
Yeah, no, that's a fair. So yeah, it'd have to be the 26th then.
Yeah, because
that's it. That'd have to be. Yeah. So there you go.
Oh, because it's like my concern was like, you don't want to like, hey, we patched, and there's problems with servers, and you can't experience the story, and it's all up on YouTube now. Sucks to be.
Yeah, I mean, because I would assume that the live letter has information about part 2.
Yeah.
Because otherwise they don't have a live letter. Like,
what
are they talking about? So it's
they
probably
can start going more into detail about the as I figured, if once part 2 happens, you could talk about, okay, we're going to talk more about like this stuff for Shadowbringers, because they got
after we get FanFest, the next live letter is going to be from the media tours talking about job changes. So.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And get ready for people to freak out.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I'm so curious to see what they do with Machinist. I think is my biggest thing.
Make the turret a pet.
They won't do that. Yoshi P hates pets.
I know.
It's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Yoshi P, give us Beastmaster Limited.
Yeah.
Don't sigh. It's okay.
No, it's not. It's really not. I mean, I don't care for Beastmaster, but it's just limited jobs are.
I have the absolute opposite opinion. Like, I love it.
Right, limited jobs to me just shows limited thinking on the part of the devs, because they don't know how to make it an actual job.
See, I think of it as limited, like you buy like a limited edition vehicle. Like, it's really like,
you don't drive it all the time.
You don't drive it all the time.
Yeah.
But when you do,
you drive it for a few weeks, you feel really cool, and then you never touch it again.
And then it goes into the garage.
I would say that
you can't even see it in the garage. It's under a tarp. It's just like, what's under there?
Get chicks
it's really cool. Can I see it?
No. You gotta park it on the curb and get chicks with it.
Oh yeah,
there you go.
Check out my swanky blue outfit.
Every so often, you don't even like start it up to back it out onto the driveway. You just slowly push it out. You just you just buff the same spot on the car for like 5 hours, just hoping that somebody walks by like jogging, and you're like, hey, how you doing? Wax at my really cool car. Yeah.
This is
and that's Blue Mage.
Metaphor. Yeah.
And that's Blue Mage.
I like it. Pretty good one.
Gosh. How do we do these?
The car's absolutely the
car.
Oh
yeah.
Blue leather interior, everything.
Until Beastmaster comes out, then it's a blue car with a goat in the trunk.
Yeah. I'm blue. I'm a da.
Okay.
Oh dear. All right. So yeah, we don't know what next week is going to be about. Again, we do have a few ideas that we've thought about. They're not really developed yet. Probably won't be in time for next week. But if there is something that you guys would like to see on the show, whether it be certain guests you want on or certain topics you want us to tackle, let us know. We have our Discord. Maybe should we start an AR channel? Maybe that's not a terrible idea.
Not a bad idea
on the Discord. So yeah, we'll do that. If you guys have ideas for the show or any feedback, whatever, you can throw them on there. And
crap you want us to talk about?
Yeah.
Want us to talk
We
about.
need content.
I mean, I'm happy to rant about every job for an hour, so that's okay. I just don't know that anyone wants to hear that.
This week, Aldino is going to rant about Blue Mage.
Yeah.
Let's
Just
talk
do Blue
about
Mage,
Hammer.
and all you do is just be like, see episode 122 timestamp. See
Yeah, exactly.
episode timestamp.
I mean, I think that before
This concludes my
5.0,
speech.
we should definitely talk about the state of every job before we go into it.
Not a bad idea.
At some point, I don't know if people want to talk about it.
I hope
You guys want us to
Dragoon.
talk about jobs?
I just hope Dragoon
Yes.
doesn't start off
Yes.
Shadowbringers in a really bad spot. Like it did
Right,
Stormblood.
exactly.
I was personally heartbroken.
I'm
By
really,
the way,
I'm really concerned
Dragoon
for
was
Dark Knight because like usually the token job.
He's the
Sure.
well, he's the poster boy.
Exactly.
He's the poster boy.
The
for
poster boy
Shadowbringers,
job
so.
for the expansion usually is like like close.
It's like yeah, like what did they do with Monk?
Monk
for-
was like people were like it was and people still like I've
Yeah.
been here like all right
like I'm good. Being said though, I mean we also had Samurai
Yeah,
for
sure.
Stormblood. I
Oh,
love Samurai. I think Samurai is great. It's a
Samurai.
DPS that doesn't worry about having to make other people's DPS great. He's just like
It's-
I'm a DPS. I
It's a
worry about my
black mage with a
DPS.
sword, so I'm a fan.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
love
it's
Samurai.
So good.
I love Samurai so much. I'm going back through Eureka a second time to get my weapon for Samurai.
Nice.
That's dedication.
I hate myself. I
I'm
think
gonna
is what it
say-
is.
Mhm.
A samurai is a job for people who don't give a crap about the rest of their party.
Yeah, which is why it's
Isn't-
perfect for
isn't-
me.
Isn't bringing the DPS caring about your party? Like
No.
I'm showing as much love as by pushing this phase.
I
No,
mean,
I'm just being the community. The
I know.
community
yeah.
at heart.
That would
I
be
mean-
that would be the best thing that they can do with job adjustments for 5.0, just to completely like kill raid comp. Every job can give the weapon the damage debuff that they have. If you're Bard, you can apply a piercing debuff. If you're
Wow.
Dragoon, you can do piercing. If you're like done.
You know what that
Done.
sounds like to me? That sounds like something that another MMO a long time ago said, where you bring the player, not the class. And it never worked.
Yeah,
It never
you,
will.
you want to bring the class, not the player.
Also while we're at it, get rid of directionals. Just
It's just the wish list.
You know, kind of. I mean,
That's fine.
that's one of the things that's bugged me about Eureka is a lot of the mobs don't even have directionals. All these core systems like don't
Sure.
apply. Like, all right,
I-
they just like decided not to care. All of a sudden,
I'm
It
on
makes
my
no sense
quest
to me.
for making grand companies relevant. I think that'd be fun. Level sync and some kind of quality of life so that I can see
Yeah.
what quests we're
I'll
all together.
I'll trade you. I'll trade you, Bri. If we make grand companies relevant, we have to get rid of sanction.
Sure. I'll if that's the deal. Let's
There's
here we go.
there's people listening to this show right now. They're like, "What the hell is sanction?"
What is sanction? Like,
It's a
You know
thing.
what?
like
It's
it's
a
a
thing.
thing.
Maybe that's what we do next week. We do the if I were the producer, if I were the
I'm-
director.
Oh
Man.
man,
That would be-
we're gonna get hate, and I
Oh,
say
goodness.
bring it on.
Yeah.
I don't
This is
know if I
Ryan's
have-
favorite kind of discussion.
Yeah.
love
I
the
need-
discussion.
I don't have enough
think
rings.
I would say
I need more
that's
rings to
gonna piss
be-
a lot of people off, and I say it with respect, and I'm not trying to upset anybody, but there's a quorum of white knights in this game that, despite their best efforts, are actually fighting against the game improving, and you see it especially if you post and it's that. There's a you post any idea, and it doesn't have to be a good idea or a bad idea, but let's just take a regular person I think this would be interesting, and then this swarm of just hatred and it's not me, I can take the heat, but it's oh, you're an idiot and this is da. It's you de-incentivize people sharing an idea, so the only thing that the developers end up hearing is the vocal minorities with the deal, because you've
sure.
shut people down. I don't say if someone's sharing a bad idea, let them share it. The devs are going to be the ones controlling that, but we don't need to be shutting down ideas. And so I think there's, like I said, a small quorum of people who they think they're doing good, but I think essentially they're actually ultimately hurting it, because there might be a really good idea out there, but somebody's afraid to actually share it, and you might actually find that you like it. And that's just coming from me. And when you look at how to brainstorm, when you brainstorming, there's no bad idea, and that's the first rule of brainstorming. You throw the dumbest ideas on the board, because that helps you lead to interesting thoughts. It doesn't mean that we're going to implement that that won't work because of X. But when you and that's where I think anyway I would happily play.
So here, you know what I like. So here's what I'd like. Okay, Bri, I want you to make a list of things that you want us to like just come up with ideas for. I want you to have it ready for next show, but I don't want you to share it with us before the episode.
Okay.
And then we'll just real time
just
go down and yeah.
Cool.
Just immediate reaction.
I like that.
Yeah, just immediate
That's
reaction.
gonna fail because of this. This is horrible.
and then we'll pretend we're just doing like slam poetry.
Slam poetry. I love it.
So that's next week's episode. We're just gonna pretend that we know what we're talking about and that we know better than the devs, and yeah, there we go. That'll be weird.
Come up with producer names, everybody.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great.
Don't. I'm not gonna be Yoshi X. Promise. Don't. No.
No, that would be me. That would be.
Yeah, you.
Yeah.
Why are you taking my name?
Anyway,
this is great. No, we'll make title cards and everything. This will be great. This is gonna be a mess. This is gonna be terrible.
Man. It'll be fun.
There we go. So that's next week.
Is it really? Like, are you dodging?
I'll make a list.
Yeah.
Oh,
you got the time to do that this week?
Yeah. So
Okay,
just to rehash that, it's like I'm going to go down the list, talking about different things within the game as it exists today. My focus though is going to be on ways that they can do it from a development, because I think like a developer cheaply and not really impacted, because I think no matter what, if we're like, oh, I want them to build this like amazing 128 person raid, like what, like the question then would be, what do they have to sacrifice to actually make the new content?
Yeah.
So
all effects ever.
So literally it's just going to be looking at everything Stormblood and earlier, what the content that we currently have and how that they could, what they could do with it. And then we'll go over there.
There you go.
And then people will say like, why don't you go play another game if you don't like this game? Like I effing love this game. This game's incredible. It's like you're kind of like, okay, and I love it so much that it's like I want to see it continue to grow.
There you go. If you don't like the dead fat cat corpse mount, don't buy it. Or do, because it's a dead fat cat corpse mount.
I'm not tempted by that stuff. I've never been, and so
I wasn't until I saw the text for the cat, and that it's not actually a cat.
Wait, what?
It's probably like a possessed corpse from a void scent or something.
What?
Yeah. No. Okay. Go check that out. It's dark. It's super dark.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it's a dead.
We're going into the shadows,
cat.
man. It's a shadow.
Yeah. It's great. I'm like, it's cool, but then I'm like, oh, it's like a dead. Maybe. I mean,
what does that say?
That's how they get you. I guess me and Koji just line up on that like creepy dark like.
There you go.
It's like, is this pushing it just a little too far? Yes, absolutely, and that's why it's great.
As long as it doesn't push it past the teen rating, we're good.
Yeah, exactly.
If you want to get into contact with us, you can email us aetheryteradio@gamerscape.com. You can tweet at us at Aetheryte Radio. You can also reach us as Gamerscape on Facebook and Twitter at Gamerscape. And join us on our Discord server, discord.gg/Gamerscape. We will, right after this, I'm going to make an Aetheryte Radio channel. If you guys have suggestions and comments for the show, you can drop them in there for us. And we will see about taking that and implementing them on the show. So thank you, everybody, for joining us today. And we will see you guys here next week.
Goodbye.
See you later.
Everybody.